multi-product scenario to mitigate the risk of few businesses or few product companies move positive or differently. So sometimes there's cycles of the product in a fintech market which goes up and down. We wanted to take a approach of full multi-product fintech platform. Move to the slide number 4. So this currently we are a future ready multi-product fintech platform. That is the first approach. Second is it's a high operating leverage global play. That's what we embarked on. That now at this point of time, costs are fully bundled in. Our costs are over the last 4 quarters are coming down because of the maturity of the product and the implementation cycle time of the product. And then third thing is we led the movement from design thinking with the innovation, with the efficient innovation cycles where we could able to move the product at a cost of close to 40 crore. We move almost all the products on cloud, where R&D cost, which was 33 crore per quarter or 132 crore per year, we brought it down to 92 crore currently. Move to next slide. These are the multiple investor day call that we should be doing 20% EBITDA. We should be effective operating cash flow positive 2020, and will not be raising capital, which was being people felt that we need to raise capital because our debt was increasing quarter on quarter. So all these three things are being kept. As of now, we have a positive cash balance in the company, and we are able to deliver 20% EBITDA of 71 crore on 349 crore revenue. Next. So these are the bullet points. I would like to say that we have this quarter alone, we could able to generate 1.78 billion cash positive, operating cash positive. And along with that, we could able to launch iTurmeric, a breakthrough technology for API-based digital transformation for banks. And this also we launched with IBM. And in this quarter, we happen to be number 1 in retail banking and number 1 in wholesale banking by IBS Annual League Table 2020. That is a validation of our aspiration and our positioning in the marketplace. At this point in time, I want to celebrate all the employees, all the partners, all the advisors, the board, the executive committee. The amount of dedication and commitment they put together has created the number 1 position. Number 1 position in any segment of a product. When we aspired, there were a lot of doubters that can we sustain and can we build up a franchise which will be highly respected, not in Asia Pacific or Middle East markets, but for the advanced market, whether Australia, Americas, Europe, Singapore, all these places. That was the biggest challenge. I think I must celebrate every employee who has participated with that kind of a zeal and commitment for making India map flying high on a global map. I structured my conversation with you on 4 blocks. First block is during COVID-19. I think we recognize this issue way back in 9th of March when our executive team sat down together to understand what are the major issues during COVID-19. We worked on it that the cash should be the king during this issue, and look at it what projects were there in various point of time in the journey so that we can build the customer and collect as much as possible. And that's where we could able to collect $57.8 million in this single quarter, much higher than our average run flow during the last 4 quarters. On second dimension, we ensured our cost structures are aligned with the repeatable revenues. So So that's the next thing, which is 2.1. 2.2, we look at effective operating cash flow positive to bring the company back to the operating cash flow profit positive. Last 5 years, we had a negative operating cash flow. This is the first quarter after 5 years. We come to the operating cash flow positive. That was a major milestone for all of us to celebrate here. Then our acceptance in product acceptance in advanced market in terms of analysts, what they talk about it. And fourth is what the monetization means for the investor going forward. Let's go to chapter number 1, stability in COVID times. These are the numbers, our effective operating cash flow at 1.78 billion after deducting 270 million for product capitalization. Otherwise, it was 203 crore versus 178 crore. Collected 4.365 million, which is 58 million. DSO obviously came down from 150 days to 126 days. Our cash in the bank stands at 1.918 billion. During this period, our focus on customer, it's not that it was not there earlier, but I think this time we decided at COVID-19 that new deals may take longer time. Banks may not decide the new vendor without meeting him personally face to face, though we close some deals. But if we have a complete portfolio of the product, and that portfolio of product can be used for customer mining, we continue to meet customers. I think our teams are more busy than they were in office, including Saturdays. They conducted many workshop sessions during this entire period. And then we move on assured revenue streams, which can give us a proper growth. Move to next. The cost structure, if you look at it, our implementation cycle and efforts have reduced by 30% due to application of design thinking in processes as well as product design. So our products have been designed where our cycle time, instead of 12 months implementation cycle time by our competitor, we are efficient by 30%. We are able to implement them in 8 months time, 8 to 9 months time, and that is helping us in winning more deals, as well as our cost of implementation is coming down. Our license realization is higher than the implementation revenue. When we started the company, our license was 1/3 and our implementation was 2/3. Now our license and implementation are close to equal, or implementation is lower than the license value. So with license revenue being higher, we are able to have a cumulative value of 20% AMC to be higher because of this implementation cycle to be improved. Our sales and marketing investment, which we started somewhere close to 40% plus, now is coming down to 24%, where SG&A costs have come down. The third lever is R&D cost. Our total research and engineering and product cost, we planned 120 crore for product capitalization. Last year we did 110 crore of capitalization. So we have kept within the limit of the product development cost. This quarter is 27 crore of product development cost being capitalized and 23 crore of R&D costs. So it comes down to 50 crore versus 62 crore capitalization costs last year, same quarter. So almost we save 48 crore year-on-year basis on R&D costs. The 50 crore saving coming from R&D. So with this, our pre-EBITDA cost came down to 278 crore or 2.79 billion against 331, 3.3 billion rupees last year. So it's close to a 200 crore effective reduction. In these 200 crores, some costs have been saved because of travel has been reduced in this quarter. So travel and business development costs, which should have been higher, that has been reduced in this quarter. So which has further saving, but close to 160 to 170 crore is a cost optimization company has achieved in last 1 year without compromising on any of the processes or go-to-market strategies of the company. So this is not a cost-cutting exercise. This is the efficiency building exercise of reducing the implementation cycle, efficient sales cycle, and efficient R&D. All the three pillars we have reduced by bringing design thinking in practices. Next. This is I spoken in the beginning itself. IBS League table coming in two categories. I think we are the only company in the world which may be in two categories. Number one, this brings our sales and marketing costs slightly lower because we start receiving some of the pull RFPs because of this ranking from Europe and America. And the Magic Quadrant positioning is also very, very important in Gartner for IDC. Besides GTB products are in Magic Quadrant for quite some time, IDC is now taking that kind of a advantage in the ranking. So we generally get 50 reports from various analysts during the year. For product business, this analyst provide the market permission for me to enter into advanced market. So our products are so beautifully written, where almost 50 reports per year, we are able to get our products listed down. Next. Monetization. Monetization principle is our assured revenue. Cloud revenue grew by 67%, which is in the same line as what I talked last quarter. So we are able to run two engine, one licensed engine and cloud engine together. And this we identified sometime in, we spoke to you in 2018, December, that cloud is accelerating in banking space. Till that time, the cloud was not coming in. And that's why we accelerated our investment in cloud migration around 40 crore, because of which last year numbers were not looking good from a EBITDA perspective. So now we can say that we have our investment was in line. So because cloud revenues are growing at 67%, our gross margin has moved from 47% to 54%. SG&A cost is down from 32% to 24%. R&D costs from 630 million to 499 million. And AMC also grew 24%, healthy growth of AMC of 24%. Our estimate was around 18% to be AMC growth. This certain completion of the project resulted into better AMC growth of 24% this quarter. Next. At this point of time, I would like to give it to Sarnu to speak the numbers. But I think we are in that stage in our journey, which I would ask later on after Sarnu, I'll ask Parval to give you the perspective from that how it can be in terms of future ready company. Obviously, during this journey, we have issues. We are cautiously watching the market. A lot of banks in the world are not positive. They are booking huge losses in Europe, and we have to keep a watch on all the banking sector. Our only positive thing is we have 200 clients whom we are working with, and they need more solution and more digital solution with us. And we have a good pipeline of digital, healthy pipeline of digital proposals, which was being matured over the last 3 years, which are coming to some closure. But we don't know what's going to happen in the next 6 months. This corona is definitely a point of concern. So I want to not to be over bullish about it, but we are positive about it, about our business. Over to Sarnu.
Thank you, Arun. Good evening to everybody. Yeah, next slide. Next. Yeah, we have reported revenue, total revenue in terms of INR is concerned 3.4 billion. In terms of dollar is concerned that 46.04 million. We're happy to inform you that our license revenue is 605 million, a growth of 9% on Y-on-Y basis. In terms of AMC revenue is concerned that it is 741 million, which registered a growth of 24% on a year-on-year comparison basis. Cloud revenue, we have reported 389 million, registering a growth of 67% on a year-on-year growth basis. As Arun rightly said that on account of various measures and steps taken by the company, our gross margins moved from 47% to 54% in the current quarter. Similarly, we are happy to inform that our EBITDA for the quarter is 713 million as compared to 40 million in the same period of the last year. Our net profit is 426 million as against 34 million in the same quarter of last year. As Arun rightly said that in the current quarter, we have collected good money from our customers. As a result, our effective operating cash flow is 1.7 billion. So this is a good money what we have shown in terms of operating cash flow is concerned that our cash and cash equivalents are 1.9 billion as of 30th June 2020. Our total debt has been reduced as compared to the previous, as compared to 31st March 2020 by 1.2 billion. Our term loan is 624 million as of 30th June 2020. Next slide, please. As we talked about that, in the current quarter, we collected 4.3 billion collection in cash. Our net debtor days as of 30th June is 126 days as compared to 150 days as of 31st March 2020. Our investment product development for the quarter is 269 million. As well as our order backlog as of 30th June is 11.56 billion. These are the important financial highlights from my side.
Continue the other things.
Okay. Yeah. Get to next slide, please. This we already talked in terms of various important highlights in the previous slides. Next slide. This can be seen that how our AMC revenue trend has been increasing over a period of time. So starting from 1,445 million to 2,528 million over a period of time. So as we can see that our AMC revenue has been increasing quarter after quarter, year after year. Next slide, please. Does it fine? Next slide. Yeah, as we said that our debtor days as of 30th June 126 days as compared to 150 days of the last as of 31st March. However, we have given a detailed wise collection across the geography as well as across the various in the collection as well as the debtor days. Next slide. We already talked about that in terms of our order book in terms of 11.56 billion. SaaS and subscription is that 9.5 billion. Our repeated revenue from the existing customers stood at 93% for the Q1 of 21. Next slide. Next slide.
There's a pipeline you can speak in.
Yeah, oh, sorry. What the previous line? Our pipeline as of 30th June is 530 million. It has improved as compared to the previous periods. Next slide. We have given various details in terms of how many deals we won, how many deals we lost as of 30th June. Next slide. This is the currency-wise revenue mix. As we can see here is that 23% of the revenue come from GBP, 8% from CAD, and INR is 13%, and USD is 43%, Euro is 4%, others are constitute 8%. Once again, we are giving our business from the from various geography in terms of advanced market and growth market. As we can see that our business from advanced market is 61% as of 30th June 2020. Yeah, Arun, over to you. This is the financial highlights for the quarter.
Yeah. Thank you, Sarnu. So we have Manish and Rajesh and Banesh, all three are there. I welcome Banesh, who has joined and leading the monetization phase of data and insurance business. Banesh comes with a senior global responsibilities in multinational bank like Citibank for long period of time, and then Thailand. He was member of the executive committee, and then now at this phase of life of data, which is becoming or pervasive, we wanted a new leadership for monetization perspective. So as we look at it, four businesses, 2018-19 was a where we GTB became the key driver for our business. 1920 GCB has taken shape, and 2021 is a where we are looking data and insurance to take a lead, and 2021-22 is a RTM. That's how we are calibrating and working on the model. So Banesh has taken that responsibility for this year for insurance and data business. And with welcoming Banesh, Banesh, if you want to share a few words with the investor, how do you see the data role in the overall journey?
Yeah. Thank you, Arun. I think hello to everyone. I think my sort of dealing with this company has been there for a long time, so I'm really happy to be a part of the management team. What is interesting about the insurance and the data monetization business is that it is actually targeted to what I think is the most important part of the evolution of technology that we are seeing today. Data is going to be vitally important, and we all recognize that. And we built a capability on our platform of a data fabric that is used right now for some insurance businesses and is in the right stage of scaling up, not just for insurance, but for all our product lines. And we are actually going to look at how we can take data and leverage it more efficiently across the various businesses and various geographies around the world for financial institutions. So happy to be a part of the opportunity here. The good thing about this business is that it's got cloud focus. It's completely architected in an open architecture sense going forward. And I think what's interesting is that we are seeing a lot of ability for us to be able to use the data to help risk analysis and to reach out to customers very efficiently, proactively, rather than customers coming to banks. And I think this platform that we've built on the Intellect Seek platform, I think is really geared very, very effectively going forward for business opportunities. So, it's been, I've been working with the consumer businesses, advising Arun and the CEO of the consumer business, the GCB business as we call it. And we've seen a lot of movement taking place in all of these areas in our product lines. And I think the good thing is that we have now reached a stage where all our businesses are completely ready from a cloud perspective. We've seen some really good results in this quarter, but I think the best is still to come. Thank you, Arun.
Thank you, Banesh. Just to give a focus that we took some non-traditional approach to build the Intellect business. We took a America market for AI and machine learning, one of the most difficult market. After crossing 10 customers in America for data business, now it's a time to scale it up because it got tested in a most demanding market. Once it is tested in most demanding market, the most demanding customer for the data accuracy, it's a time for taking it to Australia market. We took a second market, Australia market, where data market started. And then we will be taking one by one, market by market for data cycling. At this point of time, I'll like to give it the Prabal, the perspective, since he is advising me from last 4 years. So just wanted to pick up his how he's looking at the overall piece.
Yeah. Thank you, Arun. Thanks very much. Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. I have met actually most of you in our investor conferences, either jointly or in small groups. And the first thing I would like to do is to thank all of you personally for keeping the faith on the company during the steep fall in stock prices due to COVID. The very fact that you are here is testimony to that. So thank you very much. Now, I don't have a regular presentation, so I'll take this extempore and link up to all the things that we had discussed at various points in the last few years. So as you would recollect, even during the most difficult times last year, we had made 3 specific commitments to you. 1, no further cash raise will be required post September 18. The movement of EBITDA from about 5% to an exit EBITDA of 20% by March 2020, and operating cash flow positive by June 2020, which is quarter 1 of FY21, from minus 250 crores and minus 120 crores in the previous 2 years. Now, these are the 3 specific commitments we made, and with hindsight, of course, as they say, the vision is 2020, and it's very easy to say. But as Warren Buffett said, the rear view mirror is always clearer than the windshield. And we had made these commitments during the time when things were not very clear. However, that tells us one more sort of saying, which is very favorite to me from Warren Buffett again, which says that the risk comes from not knowing what you are doing. In other words, if we know what we are doing, the risk is limited. Of course, there's a risk of the environment at all points in time. But if we know what we are doing, the risk is limited. And that is the point I would like to leave you with, that despite all these difficult times, you have stood by us, you have listened to our story, and you have believed in us. And I think now the results are there for us to see. So during the COVID times, which took the entire world by surprise, of course, including us, the key management priority at that time, in these times, was effectively to reorient the organization, basically with the objective of fortifying the balance sheet and positive cash flows. This has been the only mantra for success for most companies. And in our case, we did that. I'll explain in a minute how, and then prepare the company for operating leverage play when the environment picks up. And all this, when the environment picks up, without a balance sheet risk. I think you'll understand this language much more than anybody else. So this was the management priority which Arun spoke about in the month of March when COVID hit us. This is what we had to do. So what were the actions we took? The essential actions we took was to fundamentally, fundamentally transition the company to a stable and profitable growth path. Stable and profitable growth path through a process of cost reduction and cash conservation. These were the two basic priorities. And therefore, it stabilized the balance sheet, as Venkat said. We have stabilized the balance sheet, and there's been a sustainable cost structure reduction. And this is important because the cost structure which we have done, which we now have, is aligned to a assured, repeatable, non-licensed revenue stream, which in our case means implementation revenue, as you very well know, of about $20-25 million at a minimum, and subscription and AMC revenues, which is roughly about 15 to 20 million, let's say. So roughly about $40 million is, you can say, assured, repeatable, non-licensed revenue streams. And the cost structure of the company has now been aligned to that. So therefore, you understand, anything which comes beyond this in terms of license or any other form of revenue goes straight to the bottom line. And hence the operating leverage play, which Arun spoke about early in this presentation. So that is what we have done, and this we have done in the last few months, which is fairly fundamental to the organization. So the net result of all these actions are what? That is there for you to see: a positive effective cash flow of 178 crores, stability in the balance sheet with, I think, cash reserves of close to about 200 crores, a healthy pipeline, and of course, recognition globally, because that focus on technology and branding and products always remained. So this is where we are. And one last point, I think, which before I want to preempt that question, so I will sort of take a minute on that. This cost reduction which has happened, it is not a one-off. It is a sustainable cost reduction process. And I think you must understand that it has happened because of not rampant headcount cutting or things of that nature. It has happened because of the significant industrialization of the products, which has been in progress for the last 2 years as part of Intellect 2. And this has resulted in implementation methodologies being more efficient and reduced implementation times of cycle times and product defects. This is what we have done. So, and there are various ways which Arun and the others can talk to you if you're interested, but essentially we shifted from coding to configuration, deployment of low coding platforms, and so on and so forth. So therefore, these are fundamental changes which we have done. And the impact of, and you will ask, how has all this happened? You have heard about, we are speaking about design thinking in many of our conversations, right? So today, design thinking has percolated throughout the organization. And that is the sign of the maturity of design thinking across the organization. So therefore, it went into the execution teams, it is there in the R&D teams, and therefore it's transformed actually Intellect from to an efficient innovation and delivery engine. So this is the way the cost has been reduced, and it will remain in that. I mean, I just wanted to give you the comfort that these are not one-off things which have happened. These are very, very basic things which were done for the organization. So therefore, in summary, I would sort of like you to think of Intellect from now on as, you know, as a sort of innovation engine with 4 parts of the story. There are 4 parts of the story. One is the India technology play and India with the India cost advantage, of course, playing in the global fields. Second, it's got superior execution and a deep customer engagement with long-term lock-ins once a customer comes on board. Third, it's got a large product portfolio, which forms a future-ready multi-product fintech platform, which you mentioned about. It is not a one-product company, one-product play company. And fourthly, the potential for newer monetization models, like iTurmeric is something you mentioned. There are many others which will emerge over time. So, you know, it's a diversified, de-risked, focused, and untapped revenue potential streams which are possible in this organization. So that's the way I would like to look at it at this stage. Very much in line with many things we have discussed, but they're all coming sort of together at this stage. Thank you.
Thank you, Parvan. Parveen, we can ask for the questions. All the management team is here. So, yeah.
Can you open the... Now we are starting the Q&A. Please, in case you want to ask a question, please click on raise the hand, whoever wants to ask a question. Arun, has it been unmuted?
Yes, you are unmuted, Praveen, and there are a couple of people have raised their hands, so just tell me the sequence and I can just allow them to talk.
I couldn't see any hand raised there.
Rohan, you can unmute here.
Okay, fine.
Okay, Mohit Jain is there. Please unmute his line. Mohit, you can ask your question.
Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
We can hear you, Mohit.
Okay. Sir, first is on the digital banking thing. We were hoping for some increase in pipeline because of the whole talk of moving to digital banks. That is not getting reflected into your funnel. So what are the offsetting segments there? And second is related to IGTV. How much is the revenue this quarter? Because I think we missed it in the opening remark. IGTV used to be our flagship segment. So how has that segment done for this particular quarter?
So that two questions on the digital side, the pipeline. I
So
think
can you be a little louder? I am not able to hear you actually.
okay. So this 500 million or 530 million dollar
Right.
pipeline is a pipeline. I think we are not really looking to increase this pipeline substantially because that pipeline is sufficient for us to end 6 to 7 quarters. GTB business, Manish, if you can just brief Mohit about the GTB business, that will be useful.
But we closed the year between three large deals, and the focus has been on the COVID times to nurture existing customers, and existing wins are with now existing customers only. It's nurturing this and growing that. I think we've taken the individual line of business numbers away. From a CFO directly.
Okay.
So sir, how much are you targeting for FY21 broadly? Like, are we supposed to be flattish or marginally up now that most of the COVID part is broadly behind us?
The COVID part is not behind us, Mohit, as of now, but I think still the multiple cycles are coming in. So, but what we are looking at is that consolidated numbers are now, companies become mature, so we don't have to look at LOB wise activities. So, but obviously we have looking for positive number from GTB to grow from last year to this year. So then that's what we are targeting with the customer mining itself.
Okay.
Percentage we cannot say right now. Who is the next money, Parveen?
Okay. And thank you, Mohit. So next in the line is Mr. Baidik Sarkar. Baidik, you can ask your question. Rohan, please unmute his line.
Yeah, Baidik, you are unmuted. You just unmute from your side and start asking the question.
Baidik, are you there? I think Baidik is not there. Looks like.
Next.
Next is Mr. Nandan Vartak. Please unmute his line, Rohan.
Yeah, Nandan, please unmute yourself and start talking.
Yes. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, Nandan.
Yes. Thanks for the opportunity. So my question is on the side of iTurmeric product which we have launched with IBM platform. So what would be revenue potential of that specific product?
This is large revenue potential with IBM on large deals which on core banking migration and modernization. So the revenue for immediate year may not be substantial for the coming next say 3-4 quarters. You may not see any major revenue, but launch of this product was important because it's a big breakthrough which enables our modernization of the platform of core banking or GTB convenient for modernization, and client who are adopting a cloud technologies, it makes them accelerating their journey from mainframe to the cloud journey. So immediate numbers, we are not putting it in anything. These numbers will come visible to us maybe 6 quarters from now in a substantial manner, but not right now, Nandan, from a iTurmeric platform. So all these technology companies, we take almost 3 years for a product to become mature. When we launch the product, by the time it comes to the monetization model, it is 3-year journey from that point of time. So what product we launch of IDC 17 has delivered in 20. So that's a cycle time. Data we had launched last year, and now it will take another this year and next year to data to take some shape in revenue terms. So from an education perspective to the investor, the product cycles for launching to revenue generation is a 3-year cycle.
Okay.
Thank you, Nandan. Next is Mr. Baidik has come back. Please unmute his line. Baidik, please ask your question.
Hi, Arun. Very strong quarter. Congrats to you, Manish, and the entire team. A bookkeeping question, a clarification on the 1,200 crore order book that you've released. How much of this would be executable over the rest of the year? Because I see license is a part of this 1156 crore order book, which is confusing because we're given to understand that licenses are booked in the quarter in which you win them. So how does that work? And if you could just clarify how much of this is executable over the next 9 months. Thank you.
It's not license, which is a part of it. I think maybe some error may be there. It's the AMC which is part of it. So
AMC and subscriptions, I guess.
Yeah, license is the wrong word. I think license based was a. So license based means license becomes a critical part for the implementation.
Sure. Then if I can request yours or Manish's commentary on license as environment is today. What is your visibility on the license stream? Because especially Q2 and 3 of last year were quite weakish on the license front. So how has Q2 progressed? Are you satisfied with the momentum in licenses? And what's the base case momentum that you expect over the next 2 quarters in license?
Manish?
I think Vaidik, focus is on nurturing with existing customers. We have a decent pipeline. The question, so what we are trying to reduce the risk and reduce the unpredictableness, driving focus with existing customers. That's where we are as of now. I think one of the things which we as a management team, all of us are driving is to keep EBITDA positive and cash positive and drive around those metrics. I think to keep around that and deliver what we have with existing customers, that's the focus. As of now, the challenge is there's opportunities there are things there, predictability of what we bring in, what we close in which quarter. We are in some advanced stages on a couple of deals. It's about getting that contract inked is the final challenge always. So I don't want to be pessimistic. I don't want to be optimistic. I want to remain open and see how we go through this journey. But growth is definitely, as of now, as a management team, we do see us growing from where we are.
Sure. No, but just given how Q2 has progressed, would you qualify yourself as being satisfied with how the momentum on licenses played out this quarter and is expected to play out?
So Q1 we were not expecting any major licenses, given at least from a GTB where Q4 was very large from a closure perspective. My Q2 is my alternate quarters end up being large, so I would see Q2 being better. Okay. How much will we sign? How much will we close? It's that $1 million deal questions.
So then if I could probably then request Venkat to quantify how much the services business of your executable order book would be, because it's easy to prorate how much your SaaS and AMC would be. Any comments on that, Venkat? So let me just rephrase that again. Out of the 1156 crore in order book, how much of your services would you think would be executable over the next 3 quarters?
Yeah.
As of now, we don't give this published numbers of the 3 quarters of so Vaidik. This is a total 18 months figure. So next 3 quarters immediately will not be available. So maybe.
Sure. But then so this 1156 would be executable. I mean, what's the timeline? I mean, is this a 15-month order book, 18-month, or?
So Vaidik, purple view, which will be better. Purple says that $40 million is our AMC plus. So if you take a simple number of 300 crore number, which is executable quarter on quarter, that is the good way for you to predict your future numbers.
Sure, that's interesting, Arun. Thanks. And just my last question, coming to your cost structure, of course, Mr. Roy did mention that this is sustainable, but has Q1 seen the entire impact of restructuring, or will that be visible only in Q2? And from an absolute cost basis, are these numbers sustainable?
Yeah, so this is where the 279 crore, which is there as a number, in which 7.5 crore is a ESOP cost. So if you remove them, it comes to 272 crore. There is something called 10 to 15 crore quarterly cost was towards business development. That will not be sustainable post-COVID. But during the COVID period, when the travels are stopped, international travels are stopped, that is a advantage we got around 10 to 12 crores. So that's a number fluctuation which can happen from a number perspective, Vaidik.
Okay.
For your calculation.
And Vaidik, just to add to what Arun said, at some point he mentioned that there's a 200 crore type of cost reduction which we have seen. I think after we return to normal times, about 150 is something which you can more or less say will be a stable range. So between 150 and 200. 200 is what we have got now, but about, let's say, 150 or so. But that will be sustainable.
Thank you. Is there any portion in your IT services revenue segment which would be a repeat business? Because I understand repeat comes under your SaaS and AMC, but within your services, would you classify anything as repeat?
We don't call services customer-centric businesses there. So there is another good size of the business where we have a committed services, means committed support and hypercare support to the customer and partnership with the customer, and that business we will quantify it, but it should be close to $40-45 million business will be on that repeat basis, or $50 million business will be of that repeat basis. With this, not a part of cloud revenue, which is
50 crores?
$40 to $50 million number would be there.
Okay.
It is of that nature.
Thank you. That's helpful. I'll come back and ask you for more questions. Thank you.
My mind is a $40 million. If it's a line number, then license and is a critical upswing which could be there. Last quarter we had a $9 million of license, $8.5 million of license, and that's what driven the number. If it is if $46 million number generates a EBITDA of 70 crore, 71 crore EBITDA came from $46 million. Now future revenue, what Prabal has mentioned, if it is a $50 million revenue, EBITDA can be much higher. Almost 90% of it will be the getting to the bottom line. So I think that is another way of calculating what you want to, what your questions were arriving. I'm just simplifying your questions to see what the profits of the future quarter can be.
Yeah, thanks, Arun. I really hope these numbers fructify down to bottom line. Thanks, all the best. I'll be in touch.
Okay.
Rahul, you can unmute yourself and start speaking.
Rahul Jain is the next.
Yes.
The question. Rahul?
Yes, hi. So, first of all, congratulations on a strong set of numbers in the IBS ranking. Especially also congratulations on the robust cash conversion. I would like to ask you, most of your confidence is coming from reaping the benefit of past wins and cost actions and AMC tailwind. Is this more about that right now, or this is also led by some change in the environment that you also expect to see? Of course, timing it would be tough in the current mindset, but are we seeing anything meaningful changing in the post-pandemic world?
I think everybody is forecasting that two things are changing. One is digital is changing. Second, data is there. And for digital, banks are now more open to because this sitting at home for few months together has forced the banker to think their business differently, and differently banking business is nothing but digital. So whether our product suites we invested in CBX and which we are taking a leadership in GTB, I think we are getting inquiries and proposals right now. So Manish is not able to commit whether those numbers will come forward, how much will come in next 2 quarters. But if you're looking at 3-year perspective, those products which we have written in IDC, the complete IDC, which is a digital IDC, and number 1 ranking on that particular products, those are going to significantly shift because of our ability to deliver on time and at a lower implementation cycle times. Both of them are favorable. So I will ask Rajesh to spend some time on seeing how the GCB is performing and how they see the traction. That will give you some direction on looking at it, how the post-pandemic scenario we are looking at it, why we are changing. It's not just because of past action, these numbers are there. There is a fundamental shift in the company. And we also spend some time in our working from home on reducing some of the unknown and bringing them onto the table to bring a better efficiency in the system. Rajesh, if you just share IDC and GCP perspective.
So let me try to answer Rahul's question also. So I think, Rahul, the important part of this is that as our products have matured, and let me say products and processes have matured, and we have got analysts to validate those ranking, we have got market permission, right? Now, if I just put this in context for IDC, a couple of years back, IDC was playing maybe in Asia, maybe in India, and maybe in Africa and Middle East, right? Europe markets and US markets were kind of not, the word I want to use is market permission was not there. So as we have gone in our product journey, as we've matured our processes, as we have built references, we talked about our reference, Santander, UK reference. As we have done that, we are suddenly seeing market permission happening for us. We are seeing a lot of opportunities from a GCB perspective, right? Especially in Europe. We are chasing we are chasing some large digital transformation deals in Europe. This was not there a couple of years back or a couple of quarters back. So the market permission is a very positive phenomena as far as IDC is concerned. The second piece I want to talk about is, I think we've talked about IDC in the last couple of analyst calls. I think what's very promising from a GCP perspective is our central banking proposition, what we call as the quantum IDC, right? That is seeing a lot of momentum in the market. In fact, in Q1, we closed a very large central bank deal in Africa, right? Multi-million-dollar deal in Africa on central bank. So we have 10 central banks as our clients, and we are in the last two stages of two more very large deals. So not only we are seeing IDC, we are seeing a huge momentum in QCBS. And the other piece that I want to talk about is lending. Lending also now we are seeing a huge momentum build up in markets like Europe, etc. So we are, from a GCB perspective, we are seeing aggressive growth opportunities as we go forward.
Right. So just a small addition, incremental thought which I wanted. Of course, I mean, we all know that you guys have done well in this market, and those some of the large deal that you guys have signed. That definitely is going to be there. What my question also wants some clarity is that, is there a way people are thinking it differently? For example, if I have to draw a very different analogy, like for example, in retail, we are seeing so many stores getting closed, and incrementally these retailers may invest only on digital channel. So do we see that kind of a thought process in some manner where, banks would say there's no point having 1,000 branches because people would deal less and less physically, and let's invest billions of dollars because you want more cross-selling to be done on the app. So something like that, a very tangent view which somebody would take now, given the less travel, less physical world that we are in.
Sure. Let me answer that. So I think the first piece that we are definitely seeing, and this is across geography, across bank tiers, is there is a lot of opportunity on the channel side, on the digital banking side. We are seeing that in whether it's tier 1 bank, tier 2, tier 3, and across markets. So that's definitely happening. The second thing that we are also seeing, and we didn't get time to talk about it, but we will in the next meeting that we have, is we are seeing the role of branch being changed, right? And we will be shortly, Intellect will be shortly launching a new proposition, which we are going to call it as a digital branch sometime in the future, near future, which will talk about how the branch model for these banks are shifting and how we are seeing that pain point and how we are coming up with a proposition to address that changing scenario. So I think changes are happening on both ends.
Fair enough. Thank you. That's it from my side.
Thank you, Rahul. Thanks for the question. Now, in the next on the queue is Mr. Amit Chandra. Amit, you can ask your question. Rohan, please unmute him.
Yeah, Amit, you're unmuted.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes.
Yes, Amit.
Hi, sir, and thanks for the opportunity. So my question is related to the deal pipeline. So because if you can highlight how the deal pipeline has been in the last 2 months, because the deal, because the large deals that we have closed, so the pre-sales activity for those deals would have started, maybe 6 months back. So, and after that in April, May, there was zero activity on the ground, and also we have been traveling less, and it has been the phenomenon across the world. So, how do you see the order book and this like closing of large deals to pan in the next 6 months, and have we seen some increase in deal activity or engagement with the customers in the last like 2 months, how it has shaped? So if you can provide some color on that.
Amit, the response is that activities have not come down. I think the activities for the deal on the pre-sale, the post-sale, not post-sale, pre-sale, proposals, post-proposals, deal clarification, I think this activity has gone up rather than going down. So just traveling, now people have started accepting not a physical presentations, and they are comfortable having a 4-hour workshop on the or 3-day workshop on defending the proposals. So through the closing cycle time, we are not sure of, but otherwise the activity on the sales side has not come down. We initially thought that sales people will be twiddling thumbs in the beginning, but today they are finding more busier day. They are spending 10 hours to 12 hours a day than compared to earlier time when they were spending one visit with 3 days going in travel, 2 days going in travel.
Okay.
So that's the message I want to say, that in this space, those calls have not come down.
So, this change in behavior of the sales activity. So, is it going to change when things become normal, or is it going to become the new normal? And also, my second question would be in terms of the cost savings that we have achieved. Yeah, so we have done a very massive cost cutting, and it has been a very stringent exercise that we have done in the last say 6 months. So, as far as I understand, is that most of the sales and marketing cost and the R&D cost is the salary cost, because it's all about people there, right? So R&D is all about people, and sales and marketing, is about sales people, and somewhat is like travel in that. So, what specifically we have done in the last 6 months to like cut the cost, whether we have like removed people, but as like Prabal said that we have not done any headcount reduction. So what exactly we have done, if you can highlight some of the things that we have done, because without reducing the headcount, how we are able to achieve 18% YOY savings in cost. So that is like one thing which is either I think it is not sustainable, or either we have like cut on the variable cost, and once the deal activity again picks up and we can increase the variable cost. So what is the mix of the fixed and the variable, and what was the headcount a year back, and what is the headcount now? So if you can throw some light on that.
Yes. Amit, the purpose of Prabal mentioning headcount reduction. Headcount is definitely reduced by 500 people. So there is a reduction of headcount. But this headcount reduction is not like a cutting the cost. This is started from last June, when the efficiency was coming in, and those teams are getting redundant. Those teams have gone out, and the natural attrition of a refill has not happened. So we are not gone in a one big blow saying, I want to cut 500 people. We did full across the year. So that has resulted into the cost savings. So that's one clarification, that headcount reduction has happened. But it has happened based on the efficiency gain, not based on reducing cost.
Okay. So this 500 people would be the people at the bottom of the pyramid, or at the like
all over, or from top to bottom, wherever we find those, we can give a more responsibility to people. One system got streamlined. One SVP can manage more portfolio. because the processes are much more streamlined. So we cut down from this cost from the top to bottom, all layers included.
And how has the variable cost structure changed, sir? So in the last 6 months, so how is the variable, how you are paying out the variable for the sales people, and how it has changed now? So how you are rewarding sales right now?
Variable pay is similar to that. There's no change in this variable structure because the sales will be sales. So there will not be any change in a new modern system of sales. Only the plans which we made earlier in the month of March, we said that if we can achieve 90% of it, they will get 100% of the incentives.
Okay. So, in terms of the variable pay structure, how we were actually doing earlier in terms of where we paying on a quarterly basis, or we have shifted to half yearly or yearly basis. So, has there been any change in
annual basis? There is no change. No change in fundamental things.
Okay. Okay, sir. Thank you. So, I think now so the reduction in the cost is really encouraging, and if we see increase in the top line, then obviously it will flow to the EBITDA and the bottom line. So that was the whole story about Intellect. So, and my last question is on the Intellect piece. So now we have seen that we have seen a change in the management also. So we have a new CEO there. So how do you want to start the monetization process of Seek? Because we have been hearing it since last 2-3 years that we are going to monetize Seek, and we have been doing pretty massive things there in terms of monetization of data on the insurance side. So what has changed there, and how do we want to see Seek in next 1 year?
So I would say that monetization, Amit, is a piece which we planned 2021 only. So if you look at it, for data accuracy to become standard in any place where insurer will start trusting your data for the accuracy and start making underwriting decision, that was the point Pranav was constantly highlighting, that accuracy, there's a difference between 90% accurate data and 94% accurate data. The 4% makes a huge difference in acceptance. Now this is a time when we have established all the data sources, alignment, triangulation of the data. We have one large client in US who has now pumped in. That client itself, single client, can give us a revenue of $3 million on buying the data. Data is sold on per transaction, per corporate, let's say $2 per corporate data or $3 per corporate data. The volume will multiply based on how many customers can consume that data and data packets. So data packets are priced between 10 cents per data field to some full record up to $3, $4 per record. So if a bank is looking for assured monitoring of lending portfolio, they can buy the data to validate structured and unstructured data together. And that's why the role of a Banish comes in, because underwriting data is equally important for bank and insurance companies for providing them a quality decision making. So the revenue stream of data will start building it up. For the Indian investors, I would say, since the base cost line has been settled at a $46 million with 70 crore EBITDA, I think that's a baseline. Anything more than that, if you are looking 90% can come to the bottom line, is a safe assumption for you to look at the investors. And now you can bring other investors also, mutual fund, because it's a profitable company. It's not no cash burn is there.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Amit, I would like to just make 2 quick points to what you asked. So in terms of the cost reduction part, Arun of course mentioned all the details. See, the one thing which we must understand is the significant investments we made in soft skills in the organization over the last 5 years. Now these things go unnoticed, but the result of that is for you to see. And this specific soft skill I'm talking about is design thinking. So design thinking was started a few years ago, and now it is percolated down to the lowest levels in the organization. So therefore, the effectiveness, the efficiency which you see, the backfills which are not getting filled which you see is all a result of that, of people becoming more efficient because they're thinking outside the box. Now, this is what has been a significant investment which the company made from 2014-15 onwards, which is now bearing results across the organization. So I think this is one impact of the maturity of design thinking is very important. And of course, the leadership programs which go with that, with Oxford and Cambridge and etc. and all of that. The second point is what you mentioned about the monetization. See, I've consistently been saying to all investors when we have met that the monetization cycle will begin from FY21, which is end of Intellect 2. So Intellect 1 ended in FY18, Intellect 2 ends in FY21. And we said we'll start the monetization cycle with the mature products in FY21. But the monetization levers, we have multiple monetization levers, as I explained to you, because of the multi-product platform and so on and so forth. That phase will come in in Intellect 3, which, of course, when the plans are made, we'll share with you. But that will come in Intellect 3, which is FY21 to FY25, right? So that is the way to look at the monetization part of it.
Okay, so thanks for that.
Right.
Thanks, Amit. Thanks for the question. The next in the line is Mr. Dhruv Shah. Rohan, please unmute Mr. Dhruv Shah.
Just take 10 minutes more.
Yeah. Hi, this is Nishit Shah. Congratulations the entire Intellect team and Arunji for a fantastic numbers, and especially in a tough time, you guys have really delivered. And my basic questions are only 2 or 3. One is when do we see the growth in GTV coming back? GTV, which has been our growth engine. And when do we see that becoming a $200 million? And when do we see GCB crossing the $100 million milestone? And the insurance vertical, which is more a SaaS revenue or a cloud-based revenue. When do we see that becoming $100 million? This is especially in the context of what we saw in the industry recently, that Magisco got acquired by more than 4 times sales. Arunji, you may want to address that portion also as to, I mean, they're all contemporary of yours. So some have left the field. Where do we see? When do we see us becoming $500 million or $1 billion in revenue as a company?
Yeah, I think Nishid, I think these aspirations are there for all of us to look at it, and we are also working towards that agenda. The question is, at this point of time in Corona time, look at it that we do more calibrated journey where we completely close the cash burn. If you look at it, the growth journey where we do the cash coming to and make the investments, I think there's a huge opportunity in front of us. But actual numbers, whether GCP become $100 million, obviously GCP is looking for 100 million, whether it's a 3 years, whether it's a 4 years, or it's a 2 years or 4 years. So that journey will be there. GTB going up to $200 million. Obviously, there are many product lines, but time cycles we cannot able to predict on those. The liquidity product is one of the leading product in the world, where 23% of liquidity of the world is flowed to our liquidity product, which is followed by digital and payments, and followed by trade, supply chain, finance. There are 3 cycles of growth which happen in each of the product line. So GTB will drive first level revenue from liquidity, then digital and payments, and then trade, supply and finance. So there are the 3 engines which are running with each business. GCB is running the business from quantum, then IDC, and then lending. That's how the business is built. Insurance is for underwriting workstation and then data. That's how the business is built. RTM is on treasury and then moving towards custody and mutual funds and the LIBOR intervention in treasury business, and then wealth is business. All this business will start driving it. Now I think it's a question of being patient and running in a very consistent and sustained way. So that will be a simple answer for you. And definitely your wishes are with us to make what you are looking for.
Also, if you can touch base on this Majesco deal, what's your thought on that?
We also believe that Intellect should be valued at least 10 times the revenue. Whenever the Indian investor will be ready to do that, by 4 times here. Intellect as a product company, Temenos is valued 10 times the revenue. 4 times the revenue is not something very good from that perspective. If any product company of our size where there's a 3 operating lever for profit generation, AMC lever of profit generation, cloud lever of operating lever, all the jaws are open. How many businesses in the world where the 3 jaws are available to open from the profit side? So it's a question of when Indian investor will recognize that there is a product company has now taken shape out of India and trust product company better than a service company where the jaws get shrinked. Over here, the jaws get opened up. So that's the message. But 4 times is not a big number here for product company to value it.
No, I agree on that, and I also believe that you have a lot of depth, especially GTV, GCV, and it is endorsed by the outside rating agencies as far as our product capabilities are concerned. And as you rightly mentioned, as we see cash coming in and market sees the demonstration of that we are cash positive and we keep investing in our products. I think we have lot more opportunity on our way.
That's right. Thank you.
All the best.
Thank you, Nishan. Just have a 2 question, Parveen. Parveen has gone. Rohan, can you open the next person?
Hi, Anand. So you can speak. You are unmuted.
And then one is Ravi. Okay.
Yep.
Anand?
No.
Yeah, can you closer to mic?
Am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible now.
Yeah. So I have 3 questions, and just I will go one by one. First is, did I hear Manish correctly that Q2 and Q3 license win are likely to be higher than Q1? That the trajectory will be better. Is that understanding correct?
I think, Anand, I said alternate quarters I strike the boundaries. So hopefully we can continue that trend. So Anand, I'll answer this slightly differently. I think Arun called out also on liquidity. In current market conditions, what's the biggest demand from any of our customers? It comes around 2 facets. One is like digital on the branch side, which we talked about. A second very strong trend on the digital is digitizing the mid office, because accessibility to mid office is difficult, taking the paper out. So in the last 3 months, the amount of pull I have seen for digitizing mid office is very high. And second, liquidity. All of us know the need for liquidity and lending. That's what's driving the banks so hard right now. So either if you're providing technology on liquidity or you're providing technology on lending, those are very, very high demand items right now. And my last few wins have been very, very big wins on liquidity. My current funnel on liquidity is very good. It's the question of when you ink the paper with the ink, and that's what I'm driving towards. So the market demand is there. The brand is very well known. Arun shared 23% of global cross-border cash concentration for top 6 currencies happens on our platform. So then we are a natural choice, and I see other challengers come in so that procurement can negotiate with us. So that's to be a good leading position to be. We don't need to get arrogant or comfortable with it. Every deal has to be won, so we're working hard towards it. And my biggest focus is keep ensuring all existing customers are big promoters, because quite a bit of my business comes from people having bought me before, either in the same bank or in the previous job, and that's how the business comes through. Customers as net promoters and analysts consistently rating us as number 1. In the last 18 months, 12 analysts rated GTB as number 1. So continue building on that positive endorsement and now bringing in these tough COVID times a growth. I think that's what the mandate is, and that's what as all of us as a team are working on.
And that's very helpful, and good luck. So if I were to conclude from your comments, while the timeline might be unsure whether it will be Q2, Q3, but is it safe to say that on an annual basis, FY21 the license wins will be much more than FY20, and we shall therefore be able to kind of reflect that at our profitability PAT level?
Anand, I will answer that slightly differently. My license funnel today compared to same time last year is better.
Okay, but even if you were to extend the timelines, you aren't committing on that funnel translating into revenues.
I don't know right now, with given the COVID scenario, there are pressures to move fast on some of the deals. When will they fructify? What are decision cycles? I think we have just come, if you look at the results from Europe and US banks, they have not been very encouraging. Most of them have shown massive loss reserves and massive losses. That's putting also, and the other pressure on the banks is to help corporates manage the liquidity better. So how do you convert this, and how fast the decisioning will happen remotely? I think that's the uncertainty we are dealing with. So I'm focused on existing customers and continue to grow with existing customers while you nurture the new funnel. There will be a bit of unpredictableness. The demand in the pull factor is growing from a inquiry and RFPs. How quickly can it translate into? I don't want to commit that right now. You would understand given the COVID scenarios. But I'm positive about the need. There's a natural need in the business. How quickly will they ink it? I think that's what we have to see.
Right. And lastly, if I were to, just an accounting query, what will be the split of our banking versus non-banking revenue for the quarter?
Sorry, what is it?
Split of our revenues within banking and non-banking.
In licensing. There's nothing non-banking. There's only insurance is there, but nothing non-banking. They are all BFSI sectors.
Okay. In the license.
Yeah, Anand, you're gone. Rohan, just give it a next person, Ravi.
Okay. Next the line is Ravi. Ravi, can you ask a question? Rohan, just unmute him.
Yeah, Ravi, please unmute and start speaking.
Yeah, the last question so that we can.
The last question. Ravi, unmute yourself. Ravi?
Yeah.
Am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible, Ravi.
Okay, yeah. So, Arun, quickly, maybe just a couple of quarters back, you had a visibility of probably a deal license revenue of some 90 million over a 6-7 quarters. It was kind of a number you had shared. So, just given the fact that, as you said, that yes, sales teams are all the more busy in these virtual calls and meetings. So, where do you see that visibility in today's time in terms of that 90 million kind of a pipeline over 6 to 7 quarters? Is that still there in sight, or how are you looking at it?
I think the pipeline is there. The $530 million pipeline is there. The number of deals which we are saying, the $30 million pipeline is there. So all are there. And I think now the predictable pattern is there. We are seeing that something like we are able to do licenses between 50 crore to 100 crore. That the fluctuation which happens in quarter to quarter. So the quarter where we have 100 crore license here, then it becomes a heavy positive quarter. But now since the lower cost, lower barrier of our 50% license link revenue, that has helped us out in now only profit number shifting rather than the it's coming to negative side of the EBITDA which happened last year. So last Q2 and Q3 become negative on EBITDA, has beaten our stock and investor expectation. But going forward, its clarity is there, and with these numbers we can generate. So from your perspective, you should look at it whether we do last quarter we close 5 deals, whether we can close 7 deals or 8 deals or 9 deals. those are the numbers which will fluctuate, and that will not predictable as of now, whether it's a 7 or 8 or 9 deal, which Manish is saying. Pipeline is there. Some big pipeline Rajesh is mentioning. Some European pipeline is there in Europe, where IDC is looking for closing. So, but on quarter, we are not sure of. But on year, we should be quite okay. We'll have some surplus more than the current quarter. Current year, we are not saying that it will be how much, but it will be more than the current year, 18, 19, 20.
And also on the deal sizes, so maybe last year there was some shift in strategy of looking at bit smaller deals in order to close it quickly, because we were facing long deal closure cycles. So how are you looking at that space now? Your efficiency in deal closing and maybe the size of deals, if you can talk.
Closing cycles are unpredictable, Ravi. Some deals get closed, like what Rajesh was mentioning, one of the bank in Africa, central bank, that deal closed in less than 6 months. Some deals take 3 years. So the cycle time can vary from 6 months to 3 years. And I think from your predictability point, from investor perspective, you should look at it, whether this company can deliver how much profit or cash year on year. I think that is a better way for looking at it, rather than micromanaging the things. Leave it to us for micromanagement.
No, just wanted that sense of visibility and license, that's it.
Those are the micromanagement.
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ravi. Now we are closing the call. Thank you, everybody, for joining the call, today's call. In case any further queries or questions are there, please call us and do write to us. Thank you very much. Rohan, can you please the call?